Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Keegan. If you enjoy this review, be sure to hit that subscribe button and to put your opinions down there in the comment section. The Weeknd, After Hours. Abel Tesfaye, The Weeknd, Canadian R&B and pop singer, songwriter, legend. Beginning his career way back at the beginning of the decade, The Weeknd has become one of the most acclaimed artists to come out of Canada in modern music. With his wonderful trilogy of mixtapes, followed up with Kissland and Beauty Behind the Madness, he rose up to become a global superstar, and with the release of Starboy, a fantastic album which only assured that he was more than just a flash in the pan. I have mentioned Abel on this channel before, and that being my review quite a ways back of his My Dear Melancholy EP. Go check that out if you want to hear it. I'll leave a link in the corner for you to go check that out. And now we have his fourth studio album, our first taste of new music from him in 2 years, that being After Hours. Is this another wonderful staple to The Weeknd's discography, or is it a flop? Let's find out as I review this album track by track. We'll start off with the singles, with there being 3 of them. The first one being Heartless, which didn't leave the best taste in my mouth on first listen. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love hearing Abel rap, but this one just kind of felt a bit generic, but boy am I glad I made a full 180 on this track. The main thing I love about this track is the chorus, which is just sung so passionately alongside this R&B trap-influenced instrumental. Lyrically, he seems to be going back to his Playboy roots, which he just sells with this very fun charisma. Fantastic song. I love it. The second single, Blinding Lights, is such a fantastic song. I'm so happy this one's getting radio play. It has this fantastic, glamorous 80s swing to it, the kind of irresistible groove that we need in this day and age. These chilled synths and overall jazz pop exploding instrumental is just bursting with life and fun that I don't know a single person who can say no to this song. Lyrically, it's simply about rekindling a relationship with his partner. And I also love his nickname of Sin City on the pre-chorus for Las Vegas. That just sounds so much cooler. Absolutely fantastic song, one of the best on the album too. And the third and final single, the title track After Hours, is such an interesting song. It has this electronic house style to it, but in the traditional and nostalgic Weeknd trilogy style to it as well, being very hypnotizing and ominous, but it also blossoms into a bit of dancier percussion. Even though it's 6 minutes long, I don't really have a complaint with it. It doesn't really feel that long. One of my favorite parts of this track is the chorus, with Abel's very sincere falsettos almost sounding tearful at one point. Lyrically, yet again, it's dealing with a past breakup, missing your ex and claiming it's your fault. And with this instrumental, it feels very heavy, and I absolutely adore it. All the singles were fantastic. Let's see how the album fares. Now for the rest of the tracks. The opener, Alone Again, which honestly is a bit of a hit or miss. This opening number is quite nice, with Abel giving a very heartfelt performance over these elegant synths, with slight static in the background that I actually kind of enjoy. However, the second half of this track is kind of messy. Abel's voice is under so many vocal effects it's actually kind of hard to tell what he's even saying, and the synths are just layers upon layers. It just feels wrong. Lyrically, it's about wanting to go back to an old way of life and how he's not happy with who he is now, and also not wanting to lose this person in the process. There isn't even a hook to this track, it just feels like a 4-minute opening number, which I'm not a fan of. Pass. Too Late has some of the similar problems to Alone Again, however, I think I like this song a bit less, despite this one actually having a hook. Abel's voice is just constantly drowned out by this keyboard instrumental, and also under this weird vocal effect as well that just sounds like they just piled reverb onto it. This instrumental is also very awkward again. The keyboard R&B synths, but that drum is so upbeat, it just feels very disjointed. Lyrically, it's about being so sinful that at this point it's too late to save their souls. In all honesty, passing this one as well. Hardest to Love is essentially a night and day difference between this and the 2 previous tracks. Abel's actually at the forefront of the track this time. It's got a nice pop energy to it, along with the instrumental having a bit of adrenaline, much like False Alarm did on his album Starboy. Also, I'm pretty sure this instrumental uses a sped-up sample of the synths from Fuck Love by XXXTentacion. I can hear it. Lyrically, it's about how he does emotional damage to this girl and their relationship, but he chalks that up to him being hard to love. Gorgeous song, I love it. Scared to Live is quite a nice song as well. It's got a very poppy yet still R&B sort of tinge to it. Sounds like one of the more cheerier cuts off of My Dear Melancholy. Abel's vocals are also quite reminiscent of that era of his music, and while they may not be the most heartfelt or aching as the previous tracks, they certainly are one of the most grand and full performances on this album. Lyrically, it's about recovering from a breakup and being scared to open up and live again. Nice song, I like it. Snow Child is a bit more of a slowed down version of Heartless. The beat is very tough, gritty, and moody, and Abel gives a raw performance as these haunting synths also add on to that moody feeling of the beat. Also, that bizarre ambient break near the middle of the track is kinda awkward. Lyrically, it's actually about his come-up, addressing how fast his fame has come by and acknowledging his sinful past with drugs and women and all that. In all honesty, it's a fine song, I could take it or leave it. Escape from LA isn't that good of a song. It's the kind of song I picture when I hear somebody say they didn't like After Hours, and if that's how they hear that song, I'm terribly sorry for them because this isn't good. This track just moves at a snail's pace, it doesn't build up in its entire 6-minute runtime, and the instrumental is just so slow and tiring. It's something I want to fall asleep to. And Abel's softer delivery doesn't help that in the slightest. Lyrically, it's about what the title suggests, he doesn't want to live in LA anymore. It's not a good song. Skip it. Faith, on the other hand, is a really nice song. It opens up like it's going to be this atmospheric, heartfelt ballad, but as soon as the bass kicks in, it just morphs into this groovy, irresistible jam. The nice change as well to the pre-chorus keeps the song from getting repetitive, and Abel may not have the most suave voice I would have expected for this type of beat, but what he delivers still works really well. Lyrically, it's about, yet again, going back to your old ways, even after being sober for a year, as he says. Despite not the best message to live by, I love the song regardless. In Your Eyes is a very similar track to Blinding Lights. It's got a very 80s-esque style to it, however with a little bit less of that urgency that Blinding Lights has. But that doesn't affect my enjoyment of the track at all. It's very enjoyable and groovy, and hopefully another potential radio hit. Abel's just got the voice for this, much like Bruno did with 24 Karat Magic. He just has that sort of style and charisma. Lyrically, it's about this partner hiding their pain, but he can see their true desire in their eyes. Very fun song, I love it. Save Your Tears immediately captures my attention with this funky bass line that just makes the track a full jam. Along with that being paired with these very shimmery synths and more vintage produced percussion, and it's a fantastic instrumental through and through. Abel yet again handles this style of music vocally like it's nothing, like he was born into it, and it sounds fantastic. Lyrically, it's about Abel wanting this person to take him back, and how he doesn't want to see them cry. Beautiful song, certainly a favorite. Repeat After Me, parentheses, interlude, really shouldn't even be considered an interlude. It's the same length as any other track on this album. Anyway, this one's a bit of a slower song. However, my biggest issue is that a lot of the time the synth work is so minuscule and non-existent, it just feels like I'm listening to Abel giving a rather good vocal performance over just bass-heavy percussion, and God, it's tiring to listen to. Lyrically, it's about emotionally manipulating this girl into admitting she doesn't love this guy, and how she loves him instead. I suppose it's an interlude, so I guess it's inoffensive. Until I Bleed Out, the closer of the regular version of this album certainly does its job as being a closer. It's a very synth-heavy ballad with very low-tempo percussion, yet still that older 80s feel. Abel does his best Michael Jackson impression on this track vocally, especially when he makes the runs with his voice and hits those falsettos. It's not the worst I've heard on this album, but it certainly needs a bit more spice in general. Lyrically, it's about shutting out this person, wanting to cut them out from his life until he bleeds out, which is kind of a dark metaphor, but I'm not too terribly surprised by it. The song kind of just comes and goes, even for being 3 minutes, and it's an alright song for what it is. Nothing Compares, in my opinion, is easily the best out of all the bonus tracks. Kinda reminds me of a throwaway track from Starboy with its glamorous synths and overall grandiose chorus. Not to mention Abel's voice also sounds like something from that era, preferring to stick to that higher register. In a weird way, it's kinda nostalgic, and I actually enjoy it. Lyrically, it's simply about not wanting to lose his romantic partner. Not too much to pull apart here. Again though, it's a good song, I like it. Missed You barely cracks 2.5 minutes, and it's pretty lackluster. This instrumental is very generic, some light cymbals and an overly airy percussion and 808s on the chorus. Not to mention Abel's voice doesn't stand out in any way, shape, or form. However, the biggest sin on this track for me is the overall lack of interesting songwriting. It's really just, oh baby, I miss you. Yes, it's true, baby boo. Those are actual real lyrics, check that out right there. I did not sugarcoat it at all. Just so generic, anybody could have made this song, and hearing it from The Weeknd, it's kind of a shame. And finally, the closer Final Lullaby is a fine song. I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. I will say, however, that the title is very fitting with this instrumental being very drowsy and hypnotic in a good way, along with Abel giving a very gentle and serene vocal performance throughout the track. The synths just get way too overpowering near the end of the track, kinda ruining the whole experience. Lyrically, it's literally what the title suggests, putting them to sleep. Hopefully it's not a metaphor for Abel going on some sort of hiatus, but regardless, this is another track I could take or leave. Overall, I can safely say I did have a fairly positive reaction to this new Weeknd album, dipping his toes in a bit of new material with most of it being a success with flying colors. However, there were still some flops, 100%. It's not a perfect album, but for me, Abel's been on this streak of overall good to great albums. And this is just another leg in that marathon. I've seen many critics give this sort of a universal score, and I kind of have to agree with them. I'm also feeling a genuine 7 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.